Greetings and greetings to all. Thank you for joining us again in this five element spiritual quest. My name is Master Abdullah Ingam. We're gonna take it where we left off the last time on the analogy of the three main forces that rule humanity: religion, culture, and government. And today we're gonna go deeper. We're gonna go deeper on the spiritual point of view, on an analogy based on the five elements. Because basically the five element is an analogy on society or assessment of society on the spiritual point of view. So we're going to go deeper in this journey, and we're going to start with religion. As we did before, we're going to start with the three main monotheistic religions of the world: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Okay. Now, monotheism simply means believing in the oneness of God. That's what monotheism is. Or Christianity, Judaism, and Islam believe in sin God. But now, let's talk about the word itself. Let's start there. Monotheism. The God of monotheism, the monotheistic religions of the world, cannot be believed within religion. Because religion based on faith. Faith means what cannot be proved or disproved. Theory. It's just like the science theory of a Big Bang. The Big Bang theory. You could say that's why it's a theory. It cannot be proved or disproved. It's a theory. It's still a debating factor. These are theories. Okay. It's the same thing with the God of monotheistic religions of the world. That's why when you're praying to this God, you use faith. You hope that this God will answer and fulfill your prayers. It's still faith. Those who are not comfortable with faith, that hope, and want to believe God, they make their own gods. As pagan and polytheism comes, human gods. God made out of mud by human hands, carved out of wood by human hands. Even some go look at the sun as their God to worship, just because they can see it, have something to hold on to. Because seeing is believing. You cannot believe a God you cannot see. You can have faith in this God, but cannot believe it. See, that's why when we're in a situation, even in this monotheistic religion, who believe that God is almighty and powerful and merciful, have plenty and all those things, when we are in a situation of need, where we go first? We go, if we cannot take care of ourselves or handle ourselves, we go to the people we know that they can help us out. That's where we go first. God will be the last. Now, if no one able to help us out in those situations, that's where we're going to go down to our knees and pray to the God we think or saying that we believe, and use that term faith, hope, that it will fulfill our prayers. We turn into this God only when we run out of option. Many, 90% of people or 99% of people, before they go to God, they run out of option. God will be the last option, that's the last solution where they're going to go. Because it's based on faith. Because you're not sure if God will fulfill, you're not certain, you're hoping. That's why you go to people you think you know first before you go to the God. You only have faith that it might fulfill your needs. So you cannot believe the God of monotheism within the religion of monotheistic, within the religion. Religion was meant to guide, nurture, educate people to have faith in this God so they can move toward the next stage of believing this God, believing the existence of this God. But unfortunately, religion have trapped, instead of educate, they have trapped this soul, unable to move on to the next stage. That's where these monotheistic religions of the world have failed humanity. They have failed their purpose and end up functioning the opposite of their purposes. Many get lost within these religions. When you move on to the next stage, which on the spiritual platform, that's where this God reveals itself. You move on from faith to belief, because spirituality based on conventional, based on reality. And that's where this God reveals itself. Based on the progress of science and its factuality, we know a lot about lives, a lot about the world and beyond, because of science, because science believes on fact. They have theory and they move on to the next level to bring it to fact. And it's a fact that every single human being have a different fingerprint. That's a fact. Now, you have to ask this question. With all the human beings have walked in this earth, by the billions, from time till now, to this very moment as we speak, every human being who ever walked in this world have their own different fingerprint, different from others. And as small as the human thumb is, with all these countless people, have every single one of them have their own design. This is a divine design by a divine existence. This is beyond coincidental or randomness of nature. This is a divine design of a divine existence called God. This is the God of the monotheism, the unseen God. It reveals itself everywhere you look. From the creatures to the planets, galaxies, to the universe as a whole and beyond. All the existence within the universe manifests in a perfect order, that beyond the randomness of nature. There is a divine existence whose way of manifesting is far greater than what we can ever grasp. This is the God of monotheism. That cannot be proven through the framework of these religions claim to be monotheistic religions. This is where spirituality is necessary. This God of monotheism is not the God that is portrayed within the religion itself. It's far different. It's not the same God. When you look at it, when you understand it on a spiritual point of view, they're not the same. Because the nature of this God is different with the manifestation of the religion. When you understand the nature of this God, and you hear a voice hallowed from the sky, claim to be this God, and calling humankind to pick up arms for physical confrontation, anyone with the spiritual understanding will not be part of it. because that is not the nature of this true God, of the monotheistic religion. But you cannot believe this God within the religion itself. That's why they are confused. They are still on the state of faith, having faith in this God. They don't believe the God. You can't believe this God in this religion. It's not possible. That's why many horrible things is done in His name. Many horrible things is done in His name by the lack of understanding of the God they claim to believe in. The God of monotheism have revealed itself, is still revealing itself in every area in our lives. I said I made a statement calling Christ the champion of prophets, which is some might see it as a provocative statement. But that was a true statement. But I know some might see it as a provocative or offended by it. Coming from a Muslim, I was born a Muslim and still a Muslim. And calling Christ the champion of prophet, many might seem offended, or maybe even call me name as an infidel, whatnot. But that's the truth. And we know the truth have been called by many names. Heretic, blasphemy, many other names have been labeled to the truth. By those who hear the truth behind the veil of ignorance and hypocrisy. Because the truth can be irritated, can be intimidated to these individuals. But among the prophets, 144,000 of them that we know of, Christ alone, that He to testify, fulfill His purpose, gracefully, honorably, among them all. All the three monotheistic religions of the world, all was dwell from their true purpose, from the very beginning of the journey. Like Judaism, for instance, abandoned in the desert, wandering around for 40 years. Moses didn't even make it to what they will say promised as the Holy Land. We're going to go through that. It's another conversation of his own. Who's the Israelite? And why they were abandoned. Muhammad of Islam dwelled from the very beginning of the declaration of the institution of the divine. Islam was dwelled. The purpose in which they were dwelled from the purpose was bloodshed. When evil dragged them to bloodshed, that's where they would dwell from the true purpose to humanity. Islam was dwelled and Muhammad abandoned from the beginning. Of course, later, at the end of the journey, which he recognized and make his last sermon. Because we're going to go through that here in a minute. The God of humanity will not order anyone to walk on a path of destruction and will abandon anyone who walk on a path of destruction. When a prophet of God pick up a sword in the name of holiness, the first thing that sword will cut is the connection between the messenger and God. That's the first thing that soul will cut. And if blood spilled in the name of holiness, that message of God is no longer holy. That's why holiness is no longer holy. All these religions that claim holiness, they are infected, contaminated by the toxin. It's like a metaphor of a clean water. If you drop toxin in the clean water, the water is no longer drinkable. That's why holiness is no longer holy, because all these religions have engaged in a bloodshed that the message of God they carry is no longer holy. Often when messengers of God are threatened, they often pick up the sword, gather the followers to protect the message and the messenger, which is the first step on the downfall. The first step on the downfall for anyone who's walking with the God of humanity. God does not need anyone to defend his message. He can do that himself. And Christ is a testimony of this reality. Why Christ is, in our point of view, the champion of all prophets. He had many reasons to be dragged into the path of bloodshed, but he conquered evil, refused to participate. That's what makes Christ stand out among them all. One reason: refused to participate in the evil of bloodshed. Christ demonstrates the one who conquered evil in his journey. As he said on John 17, I have glorified you on earth. I have finished my work. Yes. His work was done in the cross, at the cross. And his reward began from the cross. Because if those who crucified him and those who propagated to be crucified thought the message he carried, he will die with his message, well, if they come back alive today, they will get a heart attack, and they will, by knowing that they were dead wrong. Because at that time, Christ had only 12 disciple followers, and many few who followed them while he preaching. But at this point, at this time as we speak, the name of Christ resonates in every part of the world by the millions on a daily basis. You cannot kill the message of God. And when he understood that, he honored his calling, and he got his reward. His name is shouted among and above them all. 144,000 of them. Christ stand alone. And saying that as a Muslim, testifying the truth. You have to testify the truth. This has nothing to do with religious, has nothing to do with cultural. It's the truth. The truth stand alone. He said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Christ's word. When he was captured he went his way to the cross, one of his followers rose a knife, put that away. He said, not fight, put that away. It's in the scripture. He did not participate or order anyone to participate. This was the gospel of Christ. The same message, all the prophets God sent by the same God, the God of monotheism, the true God. All the prophets sent by this God were giving the same message, including the prophet Muhammad. In his last sermon, and let me read. His last sermon, the prophet said to his followers, "Treat others justly so no one will be unjust to you. Remember that you will indeed meet your Lord, and that he will indeed reckon your deed." Then he said, "All people, be mindful of those who work under you. Feed them and clothe them as you feed and clothe yourself." This was the last sermon of the prophet. Treat others justly so no one will be unjust to you. All people, be mindful of those who work under you. Feed them and clothe them as you feed and clothe yourself. Compassion. Compassion in action. The same message. But it's not the principle in which the prophet lived by, which he recognized at the end. The prophet, have engaged in many wars, was dragged in the bloodshed of warfare. That's where he was driven from the true Islam. Ended up leaving the Muhammadan Islam. But at the end of his journey, he asked his followers, "How do you think I did?" They said, "Oh, the Prophet of Allah, you have served your Lord well." He didn't ask God, he asked his followers. He recognized that he was well. Then he gave this sermon to his followers. This is the last speech he had before he died. This is the true core of Islam. Not any the same message that was given to Moses and all the prophets. And this is what Christ have put into action. That's what makes him stand out. Unfortunately, when the prophet died, this is the message he left his followers. But when he died, this message went back to the genie box, locked up. Because the moment he died, the followers, that's where the war, the bloodshed, continued his trail. The war started among them. That's where the division of this sect, Sunni Shia, that's where the division started. That bloodshed continued to this modern generation. The Islam that Muhammadan led, which he knew, even prophesied in his hadith, that his house, meaning the Islam he led, he will be broken into 72 different parts. And we already have testified to that. But this champion of prophet, Christ, his purpose distorted, his teaching contaminated, and buried within the scriptures. That's why you hear they will give him many names that are so laughable. Call him God, the Son of Man, God and the Son of God, and the Holy Spirit all in one, all these ridiculous things. Just for the purpose of distorting his purpose. God and the Son of God all in one. I said, Can you hear how ridiculous, how crazy that sounds? Calling Christ God, God and the Son of God at the same time, and the Holy Spirit. Throughout the scriptures, Christ praying to God, to his Lord, even to the very second of his life, praying to God. How can God praying to God? And that was not the true danger of this whole silly lie and propaganda of evil. Because it's evil who formulate this whole concept for a dire purpose. Because if human can kill God, then human can have less concern for the creation of God. And that's why after Christ was crucified, his followers, their fate, faced a horrible fate by the same hands of the Pharisee and the Romans. From the Holy Land to Rome, where Christians were being killed, tortured in a horrifying way, even feeding to lions as an entertainment in the Colosseum for all to see as an entertainment. Since God is dead, well, anyone who follows God, you're good as dead. Till they realize, well, the message might be gone, the messenger might be gone, but the message seems to be alive. What to do now? They come with another propaganda. Let's hijack the whole religion itself and distort all of it, make it ours. The one who crucified Christ on the cross is the same empire, the Roman Empire, put this Holy Bible of Christianity. They crucified the messenger and propaganda to distort the message. Emperor Constantine, where the Bible was being selected in Rome, the same empire that crucified him, the messenger. Same tactic. That's why these scriptures is full of nonsense. It's all dangerous. Very dangerous elements. That is buried there. Are you crazy? How can Christ be God? How can a human being be God? And when you have any spiritual understanding to the nature of this God of this universe, you will know this God is not a human and no human can be this God. A God come as a human and get killed by his own creation and come on. Human killing God? Are you crazy? But people tell about it. I said, can they hear what they're saying? Human killing God? Well, that's emboldened human to be more radical and rebellious, rebel against all that morality stands for. A simple plan of evil. All this system deny God is based on this false ideology. Because if God can be killed, you can make your own God. And that's what we see happening. Human killing God. The God, the architect of this universe, killed by human. That the same lies, these demonic lies, put in the consciousness in humankind through the brainwash of their propagandas, right in the scriptures, are called falling angels, rebelled from the heaven and got cast out. Bunch of lies. Make it seem like God has no control over his heavenly kingdom, where angels can rebel and create chaos. Portray themselves as a bad creature to be messed with. Even prophets who misunderstood these demonic lies, praying to God to save them from these demonic lies, who created all this nonsense to feed humans. And they are in all sectors. And in the intellectual field, in the government field, in the scientific field, that's where they're more radical. Their work there is more radical because all this technology that humankind bragging about comes from these demonic liars. For the sole purpose, for the destruction of humanity. They're the one who come up with all this nonsense of evolution or the Big Bang theories or all this nonsense. It's come from the knowledge of these demonic liars. Their sole purpose is to end it all. And they have a plan. They think they can escape from it. They have a knowledge to use it to escape from the destruction they cause. And they are setting up humankind as we speak to end it all. In Switzerland, they have this device they call the Clyde. They say they try to replicate how the universe started, how everything started from the Big Bang theory point. What they don't realize, some of them realize that, but it's not really sink in. Well, the universe in the theory might start from a starting point, a Big Bang, but the device they're building will start another collision that can end it all. And this demonic lie, they're the one who behind all of it. When the tunnel was just finished being built, the ceremony in which was displayed for the opening is all demonic. Demonic dance, demonic ritual. What a ritual do with science? What the ritual have to do with science? Go to, the videos are there. Go to YouTube or Google it. Demonic rituals. Not just that, you see, in the entrance, there's a statue that represents dedicated to this facility. The goddess of India, the goddess called Shiva. If you understand, know anything about Indian mythology, Hindu mythology, the goddess Shiva is the god of destruction. Now, a device built, dedicated, device built, demonic ritual, opening ceremony, dedicated to Shiva, a god of destruction. What's just left to get it? But they say, oh, this can be dangerous, but we don't know yet. Yes, they do know. But these demonic liars who want to destroy the world and beyond think they can escape from it. But one thing they don't realize, they can never escape if this is detonated. Their plan will not work at this time around. But the good news, it will never be detonated anyway, because God have another plan. To worship the God of these monotheistic religions is not the ritual, the custom of these religions are adopted. You can pray 10 times a day if you want to. Wear the finest robe. But without your compassion toward your fellow living being, you are not worshiping the God you claim to believe in. Compassion, one and all. This is revelation that God have given to all the prophets, and this is what worshiping the God of humanity is, by implementing them. We all born with this revelation, the revelation of compassion. Because the moment you're born, the training start. That's the school. You will be fed, you will be kept decent, you will be taken care of. Truly able to do those things on your own and implement it toward others by taking care of yourself and taking care of others. This is what worshiping God is. This is the revelation all the prophets go in. This is the revelation that we come with. If you were not taken care of when you were born, you will not be alive, you will be dead. You will not make it. And you will be taken care of, so you will know what being taken care of is. You will know the principles. Thus, when you're able to do that on your own, those responsibilities will lie on your shoulder to do that on your own, because you understand their significance and their purpose. Thus, you will manifest that toward others. You see? It's clear and simple. Every life in this world have purpose for being here. It's God's will, God's plan. And the human race, regardless of what is your religious belief or cultural background or educational values or educational level, every human being in this world is relevant because we are one of the same, what we call humanity. One cannot complete without humanity. Humanity is not complete without one. Everyone is relevant in the purpose of humanity, because humanity means the human race as a whole. Therefore, every human being is part of it, is relevant. One cannot be excluded from it, because if one is excluded, humanity is not complete, because it's humanity minus one. This is the metaphor. It's like a metaphor of making clothing. When the clothing is being made, it will first measured and cut into pieces, many pieces, all kind of different pieces. These pieces here is different with the pieces here, these pieces, many different pieces. But every piece is relevant on the process for this becoming clothing, for one to be worn. Those cut pieces must be put back together as one to become a clothing for those pieces to have purpose. They have to be put together to become one, clothing to be worn. If every human being hold on to their cultural identity, religious identity, political identity. Hold on to it. Not refuse to be fused together. Humanity will never, ever know their true purpose in this world. They will never come to find their purpose as a clothing to be worn. They will be useless. Every piece will be useless. Because the piece already cut, if you don't put it together, they all be useless. We all need to come out from this system, whether individual or group, infuse each other as one humanity. Just then we will see our purpose for being here in this world. We were meant to fuse to each other, together, as one. That's the true purpose for us being here. But there's a dark force that works against that purpose, which rule all the three systems, distorted them all, and all function the same way. Separation, to separate, for those pieces not to be put together. Religion can come to a family, turn it apart. Religion brings separation in family members. Religion brings separation between neighbors. Even influence destruction between nations. Culture do the same thing. Even in one country, you'll find many different cultures. They cannot even see eye to eye. Every nation you go, many different political parties. People can be the same family, but if they belong to a different party, they become automatically opponent, adversary, or enemies because of their political view. This is what this system do. They don't serve the greater good of humanity unless we review them and restore them for the greater good of the unification of humanity, to find our true purpose in this world, which is far greater than the quest of individualism or individual power or quest for an empire. Far greater. Our purpose for being here is for the greater good. A greater good that far beyond our own existence. The God of humanity did not recommend destruction of any kind to his creation. And these demonic liars does want to do just that, to destroy humanity with all this false ideology. Even come up with the nonsense of Armageddon. Well, they're building the device that can do just that. But we're here to tell you that Armageddon will not be a war of destruction. The battle of good and evil will not be battle of destruction, as a world war they call it. No, it's going to be about world war. World war, not war of destruction. World war between truth and lie. In the field of righteousness, where reality is stand aside to witness for his last chapter of his book of life. Where truth will dismantle all the system that was built through lies and trickery and falsehood. While reality stand aside to testify. This is the battle of Armageddon. It's between the truth and lies, not battle of destruction. And the battle have begun. The path of destruction to the lives of the world must stop here, and the destructions for the greater good of the lives of the world must start here. This is our moral responsibility as the human race. Destruction will never eradicate evil of the world, because that's what evil is in the first place. The truth is what will eradicate the evil of the world. And the basic truth is, God did not create anyone to destroy or be destroyed by anyone. And Christ is the testimony of that, who demonstrate this true gospel that given by God to all the messengers for humanity. Compassion toward one and all. A moral obligation for all. Just then we will find our purpose in this world as a global family that we call humanity. The destruction of the life of the world must stop. So dear friends, I think we're going to leave it here till next time. And if you find any of this interesting in any levels, please go to the Five Element, the source itself. You can Google it, the Five Element Quest for the Truth. There's a lot of information well elaborated there. Then I can articulate to you into word in here. So just go and take a look, and maybe you'll find something that is useful for your journey. And as always, till next time, be well and God bless.